Greetings and welcome to the channel. This is Mikhailov from Team Retro, where we like retro games and the devices that bring them to us. So a couple of weeks ago, I did a video on how I no longer really believed in AYANEO as a company, and I felt that they were a company that was producing handhelds that overpromised and underdelivered. And you'll see a card up above me somewhere with a link to that video, and I'll also have it down in the description. And I wanted to do a little bit of a follow-up for a couple of different reasons. One, AYANEO released their next Indegogo campaign for their next Windows handheld, which is the AYANEO 3. And they are making a lot of promises with this handheld. The promise of customizable controls and two different SKUs, one with an OLED, one with an LCD panel, as well as two different chipsets, the 8840U as well as the new Ryzen AI chip. But the way they're handling this Indegogo campaign, as well as some recent experiences I have had with AYANEO, give me a lot of pause. And in this video, we're going to talk about some of the reasons why maybe you should wait before backing this unit or hold off on buying it altogether. So with that, let's dive in and get to work. And so I want to start by taking a look at what the Indegogo campaign entails. And we're going to start with the lowest price model of the AYANEO 3, which comes in at $699 for an early bird price and $899 for their retail price once the campaign is over. And here's what you're going to get with this. You're going to get a black AYANEO 3 that comes with an 8840U chipset, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and a 512 gigabyte hard drive. Now on paper, $700 doesn't seem all that bad for those specs. However, let's put things into perspective a little bit. And let's start with the Steam Deck OLED. So let's say you're interested in this model because you want that 7-inch OLED screen. And not a lot of Windows handhelds do come with an OLED screen, with the One X Fly F1 being the other one that I could think of offhand, and it's a very expensive handheld. So in comparison to something like One X Player, yes, $699 for an OLED screen Windows handheld does seem pretty attractive. But if you look at the Steam Deck OLED, you're getting a 7.4-inch OLED screen. And so granted, the Steam Deck's OLED screen tops out at a 90 Hz refresh rate, while AYANEO's is going to top out at 144 Hz. So yes, you are getting a higher refresh rate screen on AYANEO's offering as opposed to Valve's. And you're also getting those customizable control schemes, but those are not going to come out of the box. If you actually want the Magic Module to be able to switch out your different layouts, you're going to have to shell out an extra $100 on the Indegogo campaign in order to receive that module. And so now that brings that up to a $799 price. So if you were to go with the 512 gigabyte model of the Steam Deck OLED, you're going to only pay $549. And the Steam Deck OLED also has a lot of those customizations already built into it without the need for you to have to take the panel out and switch it and customize it and having to buy extra controls. You already have touchpads, you already have joysticks, you already have buttons. So you really already kind of have all you need within Steam Deck's offerings in order to customize your gameplay experience, but you're paying $549 as opposed to $800, and I would argue you're getting a better experience with the Steam Deck over what the AYANEO 3 is going to promise. And even then, if you need to have Windows, the Lenovo Legion Go S is going to release on February 14th, which is just in a few weeks. So the Legion Go S is going to come in at $729 for the Windows version, and that's going to give you an 8-inch display. Granted, it's not going to be OLED, but it's still going to be a bigger display for about the same price or cheaper, depending on if you want the Magic Module or not, than the AYANEO 3, and you're going to get what I argue is a better handheld experience. And I have a couple of different reasons for saying that the Steam Deck OLED and the Lenovo Legion Go S is a better choice over the AYANEO 3. And one is going to be with the plastics. And so let's talk about the plastics. Now, in my last video about AYANEO, I had mentioned that the black models were just a smudgy, disastrous mess. And the best way that I could explain this is just, again, by taking out an AYANEO handheld and showing it to you. So I actually have two here. I have the AYANEO Qun and I have the AYANEO Flip DS. And one of these is the black model, and you could just see by looking at it that this plastic is just slippery and smudgy, and it is just an absolute disaster. And this is only after a couple of minutes up to an hour of use, and you can just see that it just looks dreadfully gross, like I've been using it for days. Now, it is not as prominent on their white models, and I talked about this in my last video as well, but the white models don't show the fingerprinting as much as on the black models. Now, there is still smudging, and it is still very slippery to hold in the hand, but it's not as prevalent, and it doesn't get as dirty as quick, or at least if it does get as dirty as quick, you just don't quite notice it as much as you do on the black models here. Here's why this is a problem in relation to the AYANEO 3. AYANEO doesn't see a problem with these plastics. In fact, they have gone on record to say that they actually do this on purpose to make the devices easier to clean. And they said that it is a more of a protective layer on the device. However, they do also accept the fact that it is smudgy and gross. Now let's go back and take a look at the AYANEO campaign. Again, you're looking at a starting price for the lowest model of $699. But then let's look at the color options. You just get black. So this may seem like a bargain, but if the fingerprinting and the smudging is an issue to you, I'm telling you, these are bad plastics, and they're not going to be any different from what I just showed you. So then let's take a look at the next model, which is the Retro Power model 8840U, and that's going to give you 64 gigabytes of RAM and a 2 terabyte hard drive. Well, this is now $1,200. It gets worse. If you want a white model, you have to get the model with the AI9 HX 370 chip, and that has an early bird price of $1599. So AYANEO, you're basically telling us through your Indegogo campaign that you are paywalling different colors of your handheld. Why? Because you know that your black plastics are bad. And so you know that people aren't going to want to buy black. They're going to want to buy one of the other colors. So you are making them pay more for that. To me, that just seems like really shady business practice, and it's another reason why I've chosen to stop supporting this company, which, even that, I might be willing to forgive if it weren't for their return policy. So I recently bought two AYANEO handhelds, the AYANEO DMG and the AYANEO Pocket Evo. And one of those was in white and one of those was in black. Well, I emailed AYANEO after my last video and I expressed dissatisfaction with two things. One of them was the thermals, because these devices were not assembled properly, and so they were getting warmer sooner, and that was throttling back the chip. The other thing I didn't like was the plastics on the black model. So I requested two things. One, I requested that the thermals be fixed, And 2, I requested a color change to both the retro power model of the DMG, which I would have been more than willing to pay the extra money for, or the white model of the Evo. And so my hope was that because they had released statements and because they had recognized that the thermals were an issue, that they would honor this exchange and I would pay them money to upgrade to that retro power model. Well, unfortunately, the responses that I got back from AYANEO were twofold. They started their response email by saying, "First of all," which, I'm an English teacher. Whenever I hear somebody say "first of all," it usually means that they're about to say something inherently negative. And so what AYANEO support did was, in the email, they told me that they have a 7-day return policy. And that 7-day return policy is also in the event of defects, which they openly said that there was a defect in their model. And so AYANEO is doing 2 things here. 1, they're not recognizing the issues in their plastics as a defect. And 2, they're not recognizing the thermals as a defect. In fact, they're saying if you're having these issues, you need to fix it yourself. Now, they are willing to send the thermal grease in order to do that, but that doesn't seem like a good customer service solution to me, because most people do not want to open up the device themselves. And all AYANEO service did was tell me that I was past their 7-day return policy, which covers defects as well as dissatisfaction with the product. But they're also telling me that if anything goes wrong with the AYANEO 3 in the future, they're not going to offer returns on it or exchanges. And there's a lot more to break in the AYANEO 3 than there is in the Evo, the DMG, or any of the AYANEO handhelds that are out there because of those customizable controls. It is very easily possible for that stuff to break. And given how AYANEO's engineering seems to work, it doesn't give me confidence that those are going to be stable. So my argument here is, if you're looking for a handheld PC, there are options out there that you can get at Best Buy. And that would be your ROG Ally X, your Lenovo Legion Go S, your first gen Lenovo Legion Go, or if you get the Steam Deck from Valve, they have at least a 1-year warranty and they have excellent customer service. They don't start their emails with "first of all," and they don't have a minuscule 7-day return policy. And they also don't have customer service solutions that basically tell you, "We will send you the materials, you fix it yourself." And so I don't normally do videos like this, and I don't normally come at companies for their business practices, but I want this message to reach AYANEO, and I want them to understand that they need to make some of these changes if they are going to retain their customer base. As of right now, the AYANEO 3 only has about 70 backers. And yes, I understand that that number will more than likely go up as time goes on because people do still have faith in AYANEO, but hopefully this video kind of just gave you a little bit of clarity as to what's really going on and why you should probably look elsewhere for your Windows handhelds, even if the promises of the AYANEO 3 are enticing. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Am I just an old man yelling at a cloud? Or is there really something here, and does this company need to change? And please feel free to continue the conversation in the Retro Handhelds and Steam Machine Discords, where you could find me hanging out in between videos. And if you want to support the show like these wonderful people here on the screen, you can do so by going to my Patreon page. Links for all these places will be in the description. But that'll do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and if this was helpful to you in any way, please be sure to like and subscribe. Every smash of that button helps the channel grow and allows me to get more content out to you. But until next time, Bye for now, and don't stop believing.